You're being recorded. Oh, did I lose my? Okay, I got you. So we're going to do Q&A at the end. So you'll hear from all our panelists first, including on the Zoom, and then we'll do Q&A. For those of you online, I'm going to be monitoring the chat, so feel free to put your questions there, and I'll be sure to ask them in the room. So tonight, our panel is going to be moderated by Stephen Wang, who's our new SFAR incoming president. So you're going to be in great hands. And again, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Robin. So welcome, everyone. We're very happy to have you here in the room and also online for our events. So we have great panelists today, and I am really pleased to welcome, to start with, on Zoom, our very own Jay Pepper Martins, our Chief Technology Officer of the San Francisco Association of Realtors and our MLS. So today we're talking about, yes? Okay, great, audio works, awesome.
Good stuff.
It would be terrible if audio doesn't work for our Chief Technology Officer. All right, so today we're talking about cybersecurity. And this is a broad topic, of course, and we're actually going to be talking about it all of next year in different events. But today we're going to be focusing in on cybersecurity in the context of us doing international real estate transactions. So, Jay, thank you for joining us from Canada. Make it very—
No problem.
Very international here. So tell us about what keeps a CTO up at night when we talk about global real estate.
So the unfortunate truth is that the same threats that are coming at everyone everywhere right now are the same ones that are coming at you as real estate agents. And because you're practicing real estate cross-border, in many cases, you will be using email and forms of communication that will open yourself up to the threat of some kind of a scam or other kind of a bad actor can get in between you and your clients, or between you and someone you're doing business with. So today I'm really going to give you sort of a basic security rundown on defense and vigilance, and I'm going to talk a little bit about ways you need to protect yourself. So there are a lot of vectors for cyber attacks, ranging from server attacks to attacks against you personally. We're not going to talk about server attacks today. We're just going to talk about ways in which you are directly under attack and look at ways to make sure that you limit or prevent that from happening to you. So what are the most common types of cyber attack that occur today? These really haven't changed over time, but they've become much more focused. The most common kind still to this day is a phishing attack. When you're dealing with email communication between two business partners or with clients, and you're going to be crossing borders, your email and your application messages, things like WhatsApp and other apps on your phone, you're going to use these to communicate back and forth. And when you're doing that, there's an opportunity for a bad actor to inject something onto your phone. Like, so you see an email message or you get a text message that looks like it might be from the person you're legitimately doing business with, but it's not. And of course, you're familiar with some of these examples, I'm sure, but just to highlight them, what they will often do is have a call to action that has urgency. This is to take advantage of the fact that you might have a lot of cognitive load, and so you don't have the time to really carefully look at what's being said here. Oh, it's a super important high severity message. I'm going to click on it. So these kinds of things are going to take advantage of the fact that you're busy. Same with text message scams. Because you're working back and forth, you might see ones that say things like, your approvals, and we need right away for a loan, or we need your input before we can complete some piece of a transaction. And you're going to be tempted to click on a link that's going to very quickly take you to a web page that you think is there designed to help you. But in reality, it's going to route you to something that's got malware on it, likely, which is the other common type of attack. So in a malware attack, you're directed to a website, or maybe you go there on your own. Maybe you've got people in your house using your laptop or your computer that are interested in downloading files. They're clicking on things like Start Now, download this free thing, and that's how you get malware on your computer. Also, as companies like Google and Microsoft have really done a great job adding two-factor authentication to their file transfer technologies, there are many off-market or off-brand file sharing technologies like this one called Transfer Market, which you should not use, that you can transfer content with. And again, working internationally, you're going to be tempted to download zip files or download packages of files from people you're working with because it might have important documents in it. And when you obtain those from these questionable sites, they could have malware in them, or you may be getting malware when you open the package that you get from it. So try to make sure you're only ever using file sharing technologies from reputable sites, Google, Microsoft, Apple. So once your credentials have been, once you've been the victim of one of these attacks, and now someone has access to your email, they've figured out a way to get you to click on something, you've put in your credentials, now they can execute what's called a man-in-the-middle attack. And this is what's so dangerous to you as real estate agents working with international transactions. This is the process by which someone gets in between you and your client by accessing your communications and waiting. They don't do anything, they wait. And they wait a really long time. And what they wait for is for you to send that one message that says escrow instructions or banking information or call me to verify this information that's really high value. That's when they will get themselves involved in your communication and look like they are you to your business partner, to the client that you're working with. And that's how they'll take advantage of you, is they'll get inside your communications technologies and hide. And they don't do anything initially. As I say, they really do bide their time. So some things that are not happening, attacks that just aren't really attacks, and you see these all the time. So you'll see people on social media or in their email, they'll say they've been hacked or they've hacked into my social media, and that's absolutely not what's happening. What's actually happening is that users have simple passwords and their logins have been compromised. Maybe they reuse passwords on multiple websites and they don't have the advantage of two-factor authentication. So when people get access to their social media, it's not that they've been hacked, it's just that their credentials were very weak and they have probably had exposed credentials maybe in the dark web for a period of time. So what can we do? Defense is the best offense in this case. So let's talk quickly about passwords. I know this stuff is repetitive, but it's really important. The password on the left is obviously not acceptable. The password on the right is a good example of a complex, long enough password. Doesn't have to be 3 million characters. 10, 12 characters is good. Make sure you got a mix of length and complexity like we see here. You want to make sure that if you want to save passwords, use a password manager. Those are pretty secure technologies. Just make sure your unique password for the password manager is quite strong. This one I can't stress enough. Your banking password needs to be unique. It needs to be different than your email password for sure. It needs to be different than the password you use for your social media accounts. Your banking password must be unique and it must be strong. And you should ideally enact two-factor authentication if it supports it. Also, your browser might have a technology in it that warns you, that says, hey, this login looks like it's been compromised in the dark web. Firefox does this. You should use those tools to figure out which passwords you have that have been compromised and stop using those. So defensively, what can you do? Always enact multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication. These have become pass keys and use biometrics now. Most of us with modern phones are familiar with unlock the screen with your face or use a fingerprint reader. Laptops support this technology now too. Wherever possible and in every way possible regarding transaction information with clients and business partners, turn these security features on. They are a little inconvenient. You will get used to them and you will be a harder target than the agent next to you who doesn't enable these features. And you don't have to be the most secure. You just have to be more secure than the two agents on the left and right of you. As long as you're more secure than them, you are less a target. Also, you should start really considering how secure the tools are that you're using. So on the left, we've got some really secure email providers. On the right, some that are maybe less secure. At the bottom here, I should make note that Microsoft actually runs kind of like two different email infrastructures. One of them is the evolution of Hotmail. It's called mail.live. It's got a bunch of different names, but the actual real Outlook email that runs as part of Office 365 or Microsoft 365 is secure. It takes advantage of Microsoft's Azure framework, which guarantees that you have some level of protection there. And if you turn on two-factor authentication, you'll be in really good shape. Same thing for messaging tools. You can see here from top to bottom, more secure to least secure. Signal is legendarily good at security. It is the one I would recommend if you're working with people internationally. Get Signal accounts. You're guaranteed to have good encryption that is on by default, and your metadata is encrypted and your data transmissions are encrypted. It's just a really great way to communicate, and it's nice and secure. You can see them ranking here. And some of these, like maybe I have WhatsApp and messages backwards, but from top to bottom, you can see here what's best at the top and what's least secure at the bottom. Some of the ones at the bottom are considered not secure, not because they don't support encryption, but because it's known that third parties can see every message that comes across those networks in those bottom 2 or 3 cases. So vigilance, what can we do? Well, make sure that whenever you're doing a high value transaction or doing high value communication overseas to another country, even across the country, that you do a secondary channel of confirmation. Receive an email with instructions on where to put money with account numbers. Don't reply to that immediately. Pick up another communications channel, a different messaging app, or phone the person, confirm that they just sent that. Do that first. Always do that first. Then whatever you do after that, you know that you're at least working with the correct partner. Second, if you get these messages in your applications on your phone, either as a messaging app or in some other app that's related to real estate, don't click on links that take you to login pages. Just make note of what it's telling you to do, close the message, open up a web browser, and log in directly to that website. If it's real, there will be a message there waiting for you. If it's not real, there will be nothing there, and you'll know that the text message was a scam. Third, avoid using websites for doing file sharing or any kind of like bulk package moving around that ask you to install utilities to download or transfer data. Almost always these come with malware in them somewhere. And lastly, do not participate in social engineering. I know we all love social media, and there's great things like what's your favorite color and other more complex little games that people play online. All of these are social engineering. Someone out there is watching. You are being watched. All these threads are being watched. Just don't participate in, the first letter of your mother's maiden name plus your birth month plus, your favorite color tells you what witch you are or what supernatural hero you are from some movie. Don't do these things. And lastly, if you'd like a more specialized training in your office, if you'd like me or someone from our office to come in and really work with you to set up two-factor authentication or help you with some security practices just for staff, we're happy to do that. You can go ahead and scan that QR code if you want to refer to it later. Or if you'd like a security audit by an IT company that you can trust, we can provide you with some references for great companies. We work with one called Intelligent Technical Solutions. And again, if you scan that QR code, you'll see our page where you can get a hold of us and arrange that. Some things coming in 2025, like Stephen alluded to, we're going to talk about consumer protection of data. And in Europe, there's a thing called GDPR, which is the same thing as the CCPA here in California. And we'll be talking about that next year. That's all I've got for you guys today. I don't know that I'll be around for questions at the very end, but you can always get a hold of us at the association if you'd like to inquire further.
Thank you so much, Jay. Thank you for being with us from Canada. I can tell
No
you're
problem.
truly bicultural. How do you spell defense?
Right. So I put it in there a couple of ways with C's and with S's just to add some international flavor. I didn't have an opportunity to spell any words with the letter U, like color. I didn't have an opportunity to put a U in there anywhere, but I thought.
I thought it was intentional to make sure that we know that you're not AI, because AI would have fixed that.
That's right. No, this is still real for now.
Thank you so much, Jay.
Steven.
We're in good hands, obviously. So, all right. So we're going to move on to the second portion of our program today. We have an esteemed panel in front of you. So we're going to start with Darlene Chu Bryant, and I really do have to read this one because she has done a lot. So Darlene is the executive director of Global SF, which some of you may remember was expanded from China SF. It is, and I'm going to read this, an organization tasked with stimulating economic growth and job creation through bilateral trade and investment between China and San Francisco. So Darlene's decades-long international work included accompanying then Mayor Gavin Newsom on his first trip to China back in 2005. I think she was in high school then. In April of this year, she accompanied our current mayor, London Breed, on a trip to China, including a stop in our sister city of Shanghai. So Darlene, here's the question for you. Tell us about what you hear from international real estate investors about why they're interested in San Francisco. And I'm going to hand you a mic.
And the mic is on? Yeah. I'm glad you're asking me the question today and not 6 months ago. And the reason is this. Um, 6 months ago, I was being told that I'm not coming to San Francisco to invest. The streets are still dirty. I know APEC happened. I know you guys tried to do better, but I still don't see an improvement and it's still not safe on the streets. I'm not coming back to San Francisco. Even though AI, right, is actually picking up and has kept our, I would say, real estate relatively stable, even though all the office buildings have dropped in value. So neither here nor there, but we're talking residential versus commercial, right? So today, investors are telling me, Darlene, or they're asking me, one telling, two asking, one, you know what? I'm going to come back and start investing in San Francisco again. I said, really? What's going on? You have a new mayor. And I really did not expect to hear that. But I think the fact that it's not just San Francisco, not just the state of California, but as we can see with the whole nation, we're looking for change agents. Regardless of who you voted for, I'm not even going to say anything, okay? But in San Francisco, the fact that we have a mayor now who is not status quo, who is not one of the OGs, even though I've known him since he was pursuing his wife, current wife, back in the Newsom administration. He is all about impact, all about holding people accountable. And people who worked with Tipping Point in the past, I don't know if any of you have, but people know that if you're going to get money from him, he's going to ask you what you can do with it, what are you going to deliver, and when. It's always about accountability. So with that, I think people are starting to believe, or people are believing that with this change, the city will be on better track, that it's going to be definitely cleaner, right? We're going to hold DPW accountable. Definitely going to be safer. He is definitely going to hold the police chief accountable, and the rest of the city, beware. He's putting together his team now, his transition team now. So we'll see. I don't want to use this term, but I know there's going to be a change in a lot of the department heads and definitely all the commissions. But I think that we will see investors coming back to San Francisco because they believe that San Francisco is going to get back on track.
Thank you, Darlene. So you heard it here first, and we'll have you back in 6 months to a year and just see what happens.
Okay.
All right. Darlene has so many more stories, and just as a reminder, we're going to do Q&A at the end of the third session, so save your questions then. So next, we are very lucky to have Stephanie Acker join us. She flew in. She's the Manager of Global Counsel Engagement and Development from the National Association of Realtors. So welcome, Stephanie. I love that you have a background working in brokerages, helping agents doing international transactions. Tell us how NAR is helping members like us do more global business.
Absolutely. So first of all, super excited to be here. I visited this summer and got a chance to get to know everyone and see everything that was happening here. And I am so excited about the energy around global in the Bay Area. It is amazing. So again, my name is Stephanie Acker. I manage our global business council. So I support all of our state and local associations with developing their global programs. I came from the other side, so I was licensed for 10 years. I started out working corporate relocation and global mobility, and then went into global operations. And then I came to the association side. And so seeing how things work around the world, if any of you have ever done transactions or, worked with business around the world, you know that countries like Colombia and Portugal and even the UK, there's no licensing, there's very little regulation. And so what NAR has done is we've come in and we have partnered with these different associations in different countries. So there's the equivalent of NAR. It's, an association, or we have crop tech companies that we work with, or land development, but we partner with them because we want to make sure that the profession is we raise that level of professionalism around the world. We make sure that we can't control the licensing. We can't control the regulation, but we can control the messaging. We can control the support and the education. And so we partner with these around the world. We're on 6 continents. If anybody knows of anything in Antarctica where we can get that 7th continent, please let me know. But we have over 107 bilateral partners. We're in 80 countries now. So around the world, we have realtor members. How many of you knew that we had realtors around the world? Okay, all right. So seems like a little bit of education can be happening here. But so they can call themselves realtor members. These associations, we go through a vetting process. We check their ethics. We check their finances. We make sure that they are up to the standards of NAR and the level of professionalism that we have. And most importantly, their members, when they join, they become realtor members. And so they abide by that same code of ethics. So we do that because when we have our members here sending referrals overseas, or maybe moving overseas, post-pandemic, the landscape changed. I live in Chicago. It is cold. I would much rather be working from a hammock in Costa Rica in January than working from Chicago in January. So, we help those people who are transferring, who are moving around, those digital nomads. We help them find their home around the world. And so if we can help our members connect with realtor members around the world, even though there may not be licensing or regulation, they know if they can transfer or connect with a realtor member in another country, that their client's going to be taken care of. And so we help you to grow your business. We offer you that education. We offer you the tools and the support and the knowledge so you can grow your business, not only refer it around the world, but also right here in your backyard. There are so many opportunities in the Bay Area with foreign investment. And my friend Amy here will talk a little bit more about that in a while, and we'll hear from Lawrence. But it's a great opportunity. And also to be able to support your community. If you have people who are coming in, they're foreign investors, they're settling down here, they're buying their home, they're bringing their families here, to be able to know how to work with them, to negotiate, to cater to their cultures and have that respect and welcome them home. Because at the end of the day, that's what all of us do, is we help people find their home. And to have that power to help people from all over the world find their home is extremely powerful.
Thank you, Stephanie. So when you all go to Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, Mexico, wherever this holiday season, make sure to take a realtor application form with you. All right, so yes. So our third panelist, we're very lucky to have Amy Kong as well. She's our NAR chair of Global Business Council Forum. She's a past president of the Asian Real Estate Association of America. She was a past and an incoming director at SFAR, and she's a broker owner of Trust Real Estate. So she's a practitioner like most of us. So Amy, given your various leadership experiences, what do you see is the role of real estate organizations in helping us agents do business across borders?
Thank you, Stephen. Good afternoon, everyone. Who is a practitioner here? Raise your hand. Okay, who wants to do more business? Raise your hand higher. All right, let's reach the world. Now, Stephen, you're opening up a big fat check for me. What do I want? As a practitioner, right? We have Q&A afterwards, so we can talk more about that. But I guess at the beginning, when I first exposed myself, I didn't even realize that I've been conducting international businesses, because I'm born and raised in Hong Kong. So naturally, I have clients overseas, right? So I didn't know that, oh, that's called international business? Okay, fine. But the more I get into it, the more the data is important. So I guess everybody here in the room knows international real estate investment into the US in 2023 has a total of $42 billion. 42 billions. And people from China invest in the US in 2023, $7.5 billion, according to NAR data. And California is the #3 destination that international investors are interested in investing. Now here in San Francisco, our demographic shows 38% white, 34% Asian people. Can you do the number? Do you see the opportunity here in San Francisco? And I'm so proud. In NAR, there are only 39, right, Stephanie? Only 39 ambassador associations within NAR, meaning the ambassador association get to have one country that they are exclusive in the entire US to work with that country. And San Francisco Association of Realtors is the ambassador association with China. So think about this. San Francisco is the sister city with Shanghai. We are the ambassador association, and we have a great friend in the city hall. People, anything can go wrong? No, right? So what we need to do and what we are expecting from the association, Stephen, listen to this. Our wish list, okay? We can add on more after the Q&A. Number one, if the association can create networking opportunity for members, right? You guys connect with Global SF, connect with other countries, bringing more foreign people over, and then we can all network together. We realtor, what we need to do, we need to equip ourselves. We need to learn different countries' what? Culture, the business etiquette. If the association can create some contacts to teach us, right? Short clips, don't ask me to read 5 pages, right? Short clips, hey, how would an Indian person wanted to purchase a home, right? Has to face east, right? The front door, that kind of stuff, right? How we pass on business card, how they negotiate, that will help us a lot, right? And at the same time, provide more data. Data is the queen that help us win our clients and give us confidence and give us the perfect excuse why people need to invest here in San Francisco. If you don't know how, make sure you ask this lady here, right? So those are the things that I can think of at this moment in time. But of course, Q&A, everybody chime in, and let's see if our association can partner with us.
Thank you, Amy. I have a lot of homework, people. All right. So lastly, on this panel, we have Josky Thompson with, he's representing FIAPSI. So Josky, tell us about your experience with how your involvement with FIAPSI has been helpful in growing your international business.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. FIAPSI is an international real estate organization that's based in Paris. We're now in over 70 countries around the globe. And
a little closer with the mic.
sorry.
There you go.
And there you go. I can hear it now. And we're in over 70 countries around the globe with FIAPSI. One of the things I will point out, you mentioned the $44 billion that of sales. Most important part of that is how much the commissions were. And when you think about 6% on an average, that's
We don't talk numbers, by the way.
We didn't?
We don't talk about numbers.
Oh, okay. Well, you know how that is. So there's a lot of money to be made for us as practitioners. FIAPSI also has a very strong educational component to it. One of the, those who don't know, that FIAPSI actually created the CIPS program, and that's the Certified International Property Specialist program for NAR. So we now have just launched a second designation, which is in its not trial, but it was just launched right now. which is a combination at Oxford. And I'm a part of that program right now, and wish me luck in finishing it out. I haven't been a student for decades, so it's hard. But what has it done for me business-wise? I've been fortunate to travel all around the world. I did attend NAR India's annual convention a number of years ago, and that was, I think, a combination with not only FIAPSI, but also with ARIA. And that's where I learned about networking. I have never seen the type of networking that happens in India. It is staggering. So I was told to take 600 business cards, and I thought, what a joke. I handed out over 500 business cards. That's how intense it was. So having those kind of networks and then being able to bring that and transfer that knowledge back to the US marketplace has been great. And also able to now introduce a lot of my clients who want to invest globally into other markets. What we've been to, I've been through FIAPSI. I was in Moscow one year, Dubai. I was just in December. We had our conference in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And just to give you a little sense, our keynote speaker was Tony Blair. And all I could think of was, I'm sitting there listening to him speak, and all I could think of was, how much did they pay him to come and talk? But amazing. Our next conference is in Barcelona, which is the first week of December. And again, I'm just, connecting with not only real estate agents, but developers and also clients all around the globe.
Thank you, Josky. I always see you on social media having fun, but I also know you do a lot of business, so you're hearing it how. So again, we're going to have Q&A at the end, but right now we're going to turn over to Lawrence Yoon. I think most of you have heard his name. I usually pay really good money to hear him speak, so you're very lucky today. Lawrence, thank you for joining us. Lawrence is the chief economist, and I should say Dr. Lawrence Yoon. He's the chief economist of National Association of Realtors. So, Lawrence, what is going on with this crazy world?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to share some of my thoughts. Based on what I can see on the screen, you can hear me fine. So if there's some technology mess up, just let me know. Well, it's a very interesting time because first, America finished the election. Now, once the election is over, one positive thing that always happens, independent of who would occupy the White House, is that real estate activity generally picks up the year after the election. And the reasoning for that is simply that the uncertainty is removed. Whether the policy is for better or for worse, the uncertainty is removed. Therefore, we generally tend to see little more pickup in activity compared to the election year. So the 1 year after the election, a little more activity, even after accounting for economic factors. But let's look at the economic factor, given President Trump will be re-entering the office. First, there is a lot of international discussion. Tariffs, high tariffs on China. So is it going to be a trade war where economists' perspective, generally trade war would be bad for both countries involved? First, we have to also be understanding of some of the hollowing out of the Midwestern state manufacturing base. The Midwest America, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania manufacturing center, they're now known as Rust Belt because factories have shut down and the companies have moved out to Vietnam, to China, and other countries. And I think part of the President Trump's goal is to revival of some of the manufacturing part, but that also means trade war, especially with China. So that's one part that one has to constantly monitor. Naturally, if there is he carries out some of the campaigning, raising the tariff on Chinese goods by 60%. I don't know whether it will be done in phases, small amount, or whether it will be all at once on the first day. We have to wait and see. But in the short term, it will be inflationary. If it's inflationary for U.S. consumers, that means higher inflation, and consequently, the Federal Reserve will be more reluctant to cut interest rate. But also at the same time, one looks at the objective measure of the stock market, how it responded to President Trump's victory, or even a couple of days as the poll numbers were beginning to show that Trump could possibly win. So from the business community, they are very optimistic about the direction of the economy under President Trump. Maybe it will be faster business activity because of deregulation, which is part of his DNA, remove the government regulation, so there will be more business activity. And if that's the case, certainly, business could invest more, hire more people here in the U.S. So that could lead to more domestic job creation, and consequently, many of the domestic residents here in the U.S. have foreign bloodlines. I was born in South Korea. I'm sure many of the people in the Bay Area, San Francisco area, has bloodline to Japan, China, Taiwan, and other Asian countries. So higher income here in the U.S. means potentially having a second home property out in the other homeland countries. So, having that good relation. The Bay Area technology sector, wow, India, even with the CEO of Google leading the way. So many people are earning high income here in the U.S. could also search for second property out in, say, India and other Asian countries. Now, reverse side is the following. India's economy is one of the strongest in the world at the moment in terms of the GDP growth rate. The base, we know that India average income is much, much below the US or even below China's. But in terms of the growth rate, it is one of the strongest growth rate. And anytime a sort of below middle income country begin to grow very fast, as like what China did, say, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it generates millionaires right and left. Maybe domestic Indian economy, income distribution may be very, unequal distribution, but the reality is creating millionaires right and left, which means that some people in India naturally would want to have a property overseas, whether as a diversification or they just like to vacation in foreign countries. We have seen Australia boom, partly because of many of the booming in the Asian economies. We have seen Canada boom. Canada booms so much in real estate, property prices in Vancouver, Toronto, going up so much, now they impose a penalty for foreigners to purchase. In Florida, in America, Governor DeSantis said, if you're a Chinese national, we don't want you. But in America, at least we have 50 states with 50 different potential state policy. So some Chinese who may be unable to buy in Florida may say, heck with it. If you are not going to welcome me, I'm going to buy property in California. I'm going to buy property in Seattle. I'm going to go to New Jersey. So at least there are some options despite what some policy measure coming in Florida. Now, as to the just broader macroeconomy situation, we have seen that China has already reduced interest rate before America. Europe has reduced interest rate before America. That has made the US dollar very strong. So America is cutting interest rate, but more slowly compared to other countries, and therefore the US dollar is very, very strong. That makes foreigners who want to buy here much costlier, as we all know that if the dollar is strong, then it's more expensive to buy in the US. But conversely, Americans with foreign ties, again, there are many foreign-born residents in the Bay Area who want to buy property in their homeland is much cheaper. So having that connection with or understanding both real estate market here in the US, and whether it is in India, whether it is in China, I think that would be very, very beneficial in terms of the business opportunity for real estate practitioner. I'm glad to hear that we have so many countries, Stephanie alluded to, so many outside country coming to NAR. They come to our main Chicago office and say, how does America work? We want to copy what you are doing because you are so successful. Consumers are happy. The system is very orderly. We don't want this chaos. So how do you do it? So we explain how the multiple listing service work and all that process. It is very unfortunate how few jury out in Kansas, middle of America, said NAR was overpricing or whatever, this nonsense verdict that came out. But it is what it is. So, we are working with Department of Justice to assure that it is not a harmful action they impose on America, because we say, look, we have so many global economies across the spanning the world who want to copy American system, and Department of Justice is looking at America or National Association of Realtors as being the bad guy, even though we are being more of a shining light to the world. But the situation is that currently the dollar is strong. But it's interesting, the dollar is strong despite the fact that we have this record high deficit and debt. We have to wait and see whether President Trump can reduce the budget deficit or his policy will raise the budget deficit, because that will determine the direction of the mortgage rates. Even if the Federal Reserve cuts their short-term interest rates, Federal Reserve does not control mortgage rates. So if the budget deficit gets out of control, mortgage rate could hover at this elevated level of 7%. Now, thank goodness, most foreign buyers we are finding is all cash buyers. So they are bypassing mortgages, but we still have some foreign buyers who are relying on mortgages. So if the mortgage rates are high, then again, that could deter some of the buying activity. Now, related to the budget deficit, will Trump raise the budget deficit and raise the mortgage rate, or will Trump lower the deficit and reduce the mortgage rate? It's interesting that he hired Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to look after, two private business owners, to say, go into the government sector and look how it is inefficient. Identify wasteful spending, identify wasteful government employees, and let's try to reduce the budget deficit. So if somehow Elon Musk and Ramaswamy, sorry, I cannot pronounce it sometimes very quickly, Ramaswamy can find the way to reduce budget deficit, then it will lower the mortgage rates. But if somehow the tax cut will be in place, because surely President Trump will not raise his previous tax cuts. That is set to expire towards the end of 2025, and I'm sure he's going to extend that. If anything, he may try to cut it even more, like corporate tax rate, or exclude, say, tip income, waitresses, waiters who are relying on tips. Maybe those incomes are outside of the tax base. And if that's the case, and we don't get the economic growth because of too high tariffs, then we could have higher budget deficit. So it could go either way. We just have to wait and see. But the point I'm trying to illustrate is Federal Reserve will be cutting interest rate. Bank of England will be cutting interest rate. Many Asian economies will be cutting interest rate, but the mortgage rate may not move along the same path, because now we have an interesting case of large budget deficit situation. For some people who are just random investors, just for your personal investment advice, gold prices are high, or even cryptocurrency is very high, because I think this is an indication that people are saying, I don't trust the paper currency all that much. With so much government deficit, they may have to deflate the paper currency by printing too much money. So some people are saying, I'm going to have gold, something tangible, or something out in the cyberspace, cryptocurrency. I don't know exactly how the cryptocurrency works. I don't have any investment in cryptocurrency, but my son, 25-year-old son, has large amount of his personal investment in cryptocurrency. I think it's a generational difference. Warren Buffett has no cryptocurrency investment. Elon Musk is a big believer in cryptocurrency. So again, generational differences. But the fact that cryptocurrency is high, along with gold prices, I think this is indicating globally, people are saying the mighty dollar, the US dollar, may not be the dollar of the future. People may be looking towards gold and cryptocurrency as potential alternative currency or something to diversify into. How does that impact real estate? I'm not sure, but I can say one can view gold, cryptocurrency, and real estate. Real estate is a tangible asset. So if you don't believe in paper currency, why not have something tangible, right, like real estate? Now, Californians have also spoken during the election. Now, Californians naturally went for Vice President Kamala Harris, but some of the local issues, like the mayor's race in San Francisco, recalling the mayor of Oakland, or the district attorney out in Los Angeles, to say, look, many of the small business owners are immigrant community, Koreans, Chinese. They're doing small businesses. Then they have robbery. They don't like it. So maybe this is one of the reasons why there is a change towards more active criminal prosecution. Remove those bad guys from the street so one can conduct normal business. So in a sense, this may actually elevate commercial real estate prices. Commercial real estate prices has been hurting, especially in some of the big cities in California, San Francisco, Oakland, Los Angeles. So if there is a reduction in crime, as Californian voters voted for, you may have a faster recovery in some of the commercial real estate prices. So is it a good time to convince your investors or yourself to say, maybe I want to tiptoe in to the commercial real estate, which has been hammered down because surely, one can say the technological renaissance is happening in California. So much new innovation, new technology happening in California, and therefore commercial real estate value in relation to the innovation that's happening is undervalued. So maybe one wants to buy commercial real estate in California. But I think I have spoken a lot. It was mentioned to be by Robin to say, speak for about 10 minutes and spend more time on Q&A. So for the remainder of the question, or I can stick around, we can have the next speaker, and then I look forward to the Q&A section.
Let's give it a round of applause. Mike, there you go. Thank you, Dr. Lawrence Yoon. You gave about an hour's worth of content in 10 minutes, so that's amazing. Josky, I think it's time for you to call your friends in India. Maybe they want to buy a high-rise office tower here. So at this point, I'm going to invite Robin back up here. We're going to take questions. So if you're online, Robin will be checking the chat and the Q&A in the Zoom. But if you're in person, please raise your hand and ask any questions you may have. Don't be shy. Does the panelists have any questions you want to ask each other? Oh. Okay, we have a question.
Just wondering if you had any thoughts on like retail coming back, like Macy's or Westfield or more shopping.
So the question is about whether retail market will come back here in San Francisco.
I don't want to be a predictor, but the thing is, what we've seen is that things have changed, right? There is retail. Retail is coming back, but it's got to come back in a different way. It's got to be a destination retail experience now versus the traditional, I'm going into a department store and find everything there. So I think that consumers are demanding more now. So if they're going to go shopping, they want like everything, and versus just walking in and buying and just shopping as they shop, but they want to go to the store for a reason. So if there's an event there, they'll go there and then they'll go shopping. But if they're just going to go to the department store to shop, they'd rather do it online and then pick it up at the store. Does that answer your question? I'll give you another example. If retail will come back thematically. So for example, H Mart is doing really well. if we can focus on more themed retail shopping, destination shopping, those will do really well.
If I may just add in onto that, Nordstrom's just announced that they're reopening in San Francisco, but on a much smaller scale, But the fact that they're doing that, I think, is a real good sign. Also, to what Darlene was saying, which is very true, retail is different today. If you haven't been down to Jackson Square, go down. What they're doing down there is fantastic. There are a lot of smaller shops, i.e. Tom Brown. Tom Brown is open down there, as well as a few other names that I don't know well enough to drop. But it's, I think it is coming.
So Robin, do we have any questions online? Okay, so please submit your questions. Oh, sorry, Oleg has okay.
What about commercial leasing of offices in Union Square? Is Lurie going to be able to get people to go there? I mean, a lot of these tenants of mine go to Jackson Square because it has a better reputation or something. But downtown San Francisco is in deep trouble. And if we don't get more people down there during the day, coming out, walking around, then we are hurting. And I seriously doubt that someone who's never run a government can change that.
So Anne, what is your question? Okay, I think you made a statement.
How
So
are we going to help commercial leasing downtown?
Okay. Commercial real estate has to change. And I'm not saying the way you do it, but I think the way that space is configured. We've already started seeing, even pre-pandemic, that the co-work space is starting to work. And I'm not saying that the end all be all. Don't get me wrong, okay? I'm not, and because I do see, for example, the WeWorks of the world, they had challenges because they called themselves a tech real estate when it was purely a real estate play, just disguised as tech, right? That being said, what I see is that a lot of companies, they're looking at space that can be shared. So no longer is, I'm going to have an office and that's mine 24/7. It's all going to be more in a hotel format. So I see a lot of corporate offices now where they have a huge office space, but the thing is that everybody who comes through gets to pick the date that they're coming in, and they're checking out an office like they are a hotel. So unfortunately, I know you don't like what I'm saying, but that is unfortunately the way of the future. Back to the second question about whether or not Dan Lurie can bring back business. I don't know. I think the jury is still out. But what I will say is that because he does hail from the Haas family, even though he is not of Haas blood, because of all the relationships that he has, and with Gavin Newsom, I mean, honestly, supporting him all these years, you know, as a friend as well, I think that business to him, it's part of his DNA, regardless of whether or not he's born in Haas. And I think in San Francisco proper, we are a very entrepreneurial city. We're a very resilient city. Something will happen. San Francisco downtown will change, but it definitely will bounce back. It's just a matter of time. And everybody has to be open to change. That's the key. You cannot say, oh, that's not how we did it before. I'm not going to listen. I'm going to close my eyes. You have to be open to change. You have to really listen to what, you know, the lessors are looking for. What are the new companies looking for, right? And then you work with them so they can make changes, so it's a win-win for everyone. So.
The question is for Dr. Lawrence. Doctor, can you share some thoughts on the Chinese real estate market and its conditions, and maybe what influences or rather impacts it has on the global market overall and specifically on the American market? Thank you.
I heard 80% of the question. I think I missed a very important part. What something changes impact real estate. So what was that something that?
Sorry, the question was on China, Chinese real estate market, and what are your thoughts on it? Like how deep of a crisis it is, or if it's a crisis at all, and then the impact on global and national market in U.S.
Yeah, very good question. In America, we have record high home prices. Bay Area a couple of years ago saw a small decline, but immediately when the prices decline, the buyers rushed in and now setting a new high. So America real estate prices at an all-time high. China is completely different. They're undergoing a real estate implosion. The prices coming down has not found the bottom yet, coming down. And therefore, some of the lenders will be in trouble because, how do they collect that collateral value? This problem is occurring because of oversupply. They massively produce in thinking that people in the rural communities will eventually move over to the city. So they massively produce. And now the cash flow is not there for the, say, home builders. And they're wondering what's going to happen. So they have not yet found the bottom. I think China is trying to do a little stimulus, partly as a result of the weakening Chinese real estate market, trying to say to the consumers, have a little more confidence. Maybe don't be so scared about the real estate. If you have the financial resources, go ahead and purchase in the hopes of sort of trying to contain the decline. In America, 15 years ago, we had the foreclosure crisis when we had the subprime loan implosion. Those bad mortgages blew up, and then we had the foreclosure crisis, home prices plunging 30%. At that time in America, there was a very real estate specific stimulus. In 2009 and 2010, NAR pushed for, because we have very good connection with Congress, part of the free speech engagement. So we said to Congress, look, we have to stop the bleeding in real estate in order to get the economy back on track. So there was an $8,000 on the table. Buy a home and get $8,000. Now, $8,000 may not be all that much in San Francisco area for real estate, but it means substantially in middle America and many parts of America. So people responded to that incentive, and it stopped the bleeding in the real estate. It stopped the price decline, and it actually began to bump up the prices. So one can think of China in the following sense. Currently, the economy is in difficult situation because of the real estate problem in China. So if they can put the stimulus more directed towards real estate, I guess the Bank of China is actually trying to, because they have a little more direct control on the mortgage rate, unlike the US Federal Reserve, trying to lower the mortgage rate in the hopes of bringing more buyers in. But China is the second largest economy in the world. Anytime a large economy of that magnitude begins to feel little economic speed bumps, it's going to affect globally negatively. So I think it's very important. It's in the U.S. interest to see Chinese real estate stabilize and begin to recover because it will help globally. Because anytime you have the second largest economy in the world facing the speed bumps related to the real estate sector, I think anything that help revive the real estate sector in China would be good, not only for China, but for the rest of the world.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, Hud. Oh, here you go. Thank you for that answer. I was curious for the people on the panel, Stephanie, Amy, and Josky. Have you heard from your Chinese clients or colleagues about what the market in China is doing and how that's affecting their decision to buy or sell in San Francisco?
Well, I guess in the last, it's been happening since the end of 2023. I have a couple of consumers that are like from mainland China, and then because the real estate market is in mainland is not doing well, even though they have a lot of income supposedly from all the leases, but vacancies is high. So they have trouble with cash flow, so they decided to liquidate some of the asset here in the US. And then as far as Hong Kong real estate, high-end product has been like down. Some of the high-end products were down like 40% in a dramatic way. And in average, you're talking about 25, 30% average, right? So I have seen some of the US citizens are buying in Hong Kong as part of a possibility of retirement there as well. So there are some in and out, but absolutely the real estate in China is still suffering. Job market is suffering, right? And a lot of freshly graduated students cannot even find a job. So the economy there is kind of challenging.
You know, one of the things that I like to do is basically follow the money. And what you're seeing from the coming out of China, a lot of the monies are actually coming through Singapore. So they're moving their money because they couldn't invest. They were limited in what they could invest in the US, as you guys probably know, and how much money they can bring out. But that's not the same with Singapore. So they're moving their monies to Singapore first, and then we're seeing it come.
All right, Darlene, did you want to add anything?
What I'll say is, because the economy in China is soft, a lot of the companies that I'll say, not necessarily real estate, but related to real estate in many ways, pre-pandemic, I tried to recruit a lot of companies to come to San Francisco. But the thing is, they said, you know, the China market is so strong, I'm not even considered the US. Now they're starting to come, and they're looking at opportunities to enter the US market, which is good for business as well as good for real estate. So it's something to take in consideration.
Oh, no, I was just going to say on that note, so as you're seeing that increase, that is an absolutely great reason to get more involved with your association, because the Ambassador Association relationship, the education, learning how to work with those clients, service those clients, and help them transact successfully. Great opportunities.
And also, don't forget, because of that heavy tax on Chinese import product to the US, a lot of the Chinese manufacturers are actually looking into Mexico, because Mexico is the closest to the US. So when they have their product produced, it's not made in China, it's made in Mexico. So they skip all those taxes. So a lot of the Chinese delegation are going into Mexico and looking for opportunities. So if you happen to have connection in Mexico or speak the language, watch out for those opportunities as well.
Well, I am going to Mexico on Thursday, and I speak Mandarin. So if you have any referrals. But what I love is Dr. Lawrence Yoon just mentioned, hey, you should have your clients buy a second property in Asia. And Amy's like, done. Go ahead.
Hi there, Stephanie. This question is for you. I've been very interested in the NAR international program that's just launched, and I would like to become a member. I'm having difficulty finding out a little bit more in how it's going to unfold, if you could address that.
Could you clarify which international program?
It's called the NAR International Membership Program.
So we do have international realtor members. So those would be, are you a realtor here in the US? Okay, so the international realtor membership, that is for our members who are from other countries. So Portugal or Mexico or China. So the ones who are members of the associations that are partnered with us, they're called international realtor members. So you being here and being a realtor in the US and being a part of your global council, and do you have your CIPS?
Yes.
Okay, so you are an international global realtor right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's no different. You're already there.
I should mention that Duina is a part of FIAPSI as well. So thanks for being here. We have a question over there.
Question and a comment. There's a couple of good things that are happening to the Bay Area regarding bringing people here. Obviously, tourism helps, but you have the NBA All-Star game coming in February. You have World Cup in a year or 2 years. You have the Super Bowl that's coming here as well too. Those are all positive things, and people come here first as tourists and say, I want to live here, but we lost a lot of jobs during the lockdown too. 9% of the city left. So that equates to a lot of home buyers or investors coming to the city, right? So I just want to know how many of the 9% or whatever, 90,000 people we might have lost, or 70,000 people we lost in the city are actually slightly being replaced or coming back. And also the conventions also bring people here and then say, okay, I might want to live here. So how many of those people are actually thinking about that?
No pressure, right? Um, so first of all, I don't represent the city and county of San Francisco, okay? But this is what I'll say based on what I know. The city has been resting on its laurels for a very long time. They never had to market themselves. And I said, duh, I've been doing that for you for the last 12 years, okay? Neither here nor there. So what they're doing is they're learning slowly that they have to market themselves. Two, I think that the residents who decided to move out of San Francisco, all the houses were quickly bought up by people who wanted to stay in San Francisco, right? But what I'll also say is at least 32% of the people who have left have come back because they realize that at least 30% because they realize that San Francisco really is the place they want to be. If you go to Austin, okay, fine. But if you go to Austin and you realize that the infrastructure is not there, your water is not great, the public transportation is awful, that electricity is super mega expensive, and by the way, it's really hot over there, why aren't you coming back to San Francisco? And we've seen that actually happen. In terms of the conventions, there is a market effort to start to pitch again. And the city is really trying to see who they bring together to try to market the city and the conventions. They're working on that. The fact that they have, or they're still trying, that they have a new CEO, right? Again, the jury is out, but we'll see how well they're going to do. It's going to, I think, take anywhere between 3 to 5 years to get back to normal again, if normal is a word that we have to reckon with. But it is going to take a while. The pandemic has changed a lot of things. Las Vegas is our biggest competitor in terms of conventions, and they make it really difficult to compete because Las Vegas has as we all know, been a play town. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Whereas in San Francisco, you come to San Francisco, it's all about innovation. I want to be here. So it's a different mentality. But that is yet to be seen. But I think that it's going to take at least another 3 years at the very minimum in order to get the conventions back. Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to share with you all is like after I got involved with NER Global, one thing that bring to my attention and actually created a referral business is that Canadian is the #1 investor here in the US, right? Who has a connection and your profile set up with the Canadian Real Estate Association? 1, 2, 3, do re mi, that's it. CREA Global. Consider join them because there is a lot of Canadian buy here in San Francisco. If you remember downtown where the Buchanan condo building is, there's a lot of Canadian buying. So if you wanted to be the agent that people look for and refer business to, you have to do something. Equip yourself and learn how the Canadian taxation looks like. I'm not encouraging you to be a tax accountant, but at least you know the dynamics. And then when people call you, you know how to handle these consumers. So just one corner of the benefit of being global. So
So we're actually way past our time. So I'm going to start wrapping up. And if you have any questions in person, please come up to the panelists afterwards and ask. Do we still have Dr. Lawrence Yoon on the Zoom? Dr. Lawrence Yoon, so thank you for staying up late and being with us. Do you have any last advice, maybe the top 3 economic trends we need to pay attention to when our clients ask us, is it a good time to buy or sell?
You know, my parents, when they first came to America, they wanted to reside in San Francisco, but they could not because it was unaffordable. So I did my elementary school, middle school, high school in South Carolina, where things are very affordable. So I think one thing that Bay Area, San Francisco need to consider is how to attract younger people. Now, of course, it's a fantastic location, especially you know, once there's more downtown revival or better walkability, quality of life, maybe reduction in some public drunkenness or you know from an Asian community, we don't want to smell marijuana every time we walk the street. So making downtown a little more friendlier, I think that could begin to draw, but the rents and real estate are very costly. So one has to really consider, how do you bring more supply? Maybe some office building conversion is very costly to do. Is that a tax credit incentive to do that? But one has to consider that. As to the retail spaces, there's not been an oversupply, so very muted supply situation. So as the economy grow, there will be increased retail space demand. And I believe, San Francisco, the weather, the topography, the people, everything is so great. But the downtown hollowed out since COVID, and how do you get the downtown back? I think that means potentially huge, the investment return for some of the property owners there. Because right now, I would say overall, it is a bargain, relatively speaking, compared to what San Francisco could be, truly an international city.
Thank you so much. I think what I heard was you should open a marijuana co-working space. All right, I'm gonna give each of our panelists just a quick last takeaway for everyone, and starting with Stephanie.
All right. So for those of you who are not currently involved with global or have been intimidated by it, as Amy said, there's 42 billion reasons to get involved. I mean, $42 billion in residential real estate investment. Again, not commercial properties, not big purchases, residential investors. Get involved. Get involved with your Global Business Council. Get involved with ARIA and the different multicultural groups. Look at your network. Look around you. It is right in your backyard. You don't have to, don't let it intimidate you. You don't have to speak 10 languages. You don't have to have the time to travel the world. Not everyone has that privilege or that availability, but it's right in your backyard. And so don't let it intimidate you, because again, it is a great way to grow your business, expand your business, and service your community. So also, I want to give a special congratulations. I don't know if we mentioned this earlier, but San Francisco, for the first time ever, is a silver global achievement winner. So, oh, gold. I'm sorry. See, I should know this. All right. So gold, excuse me. Gold achievement. So yeah, so you skipped past the silver and went straight to gold. So, okay. Well, I haven't seen an application in a while, so
I
this
think
to me was
yeah,
new.
under Joski's watch we had a silver. Is that right? Yes.
Okay, well, see, they outdid you now. They got gold. So, yeah. Congratulations.
One word of advice is like, keep educating yourself. Equip yourself when the opportunity knocks, you're ready.
I know. There is hope. Things are coming back. Okay. There is no doom and gloom, seriously. Because if the especially international investors, they're coming to look for either bargains, or they're really, and so their investing period, full stop, is either for bargains, or they're looking for iconic properties, or they're looking to really invest, and when they do, it's long term. So just, yeah. And by the way, I may go to China and Vietnam next year, so stay tuned, okay?
Real quick, for those who don't know, FIABCI, FIABCI.org. Again, FIABCI.org. You can learn all about FIABCI. And remember, when you take these international trips, you can write them off. Make it worth your time.
All right. Thanks to all of our panelists. And I think we've got a lot of information tonight. If you feel like it's all doom and gloom, have a drink. And if you're at home, make yourself a drink. But actually, like Darlene said, there's so many opportunities right now that are coming our way, and we have to act fast. And the best way to act fast is to talk to each other, talk to the panelists. They're right here. And have a drink and ask good questions. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you have a good night.